To put it bluntly.
Welcome to Put It Bluntly. I am the Wobbly Gamer, and we are now on episode 10. We have made it to double digits, and Cameron hasn't got us cancelled yet.
No, all comments that have been cancelled have been not uploaded.
So, Cameron, would you like to introduce our illustrious guest this afternoon,
Well,
this morning?
I should really introduce myself.
Yeah.
So I'm Cameron Keywood, the co-host of this podcast, and we are joined by a very special guest, the third American we've had on the podcast in 10 episodes, so 30% ratio of guests to American podcast. It's Bryce. Talk a bit about yourself, Bryce.
Hello, thanks for having me, both of you. Really happy to be here. Yeah, I'm Bryce, and as you can tell from the accent and the introduction, I am American. I'm from Los Angeles originally. I've been living in the UK for just over 5 years now. Been in games for 12 years, mainly as a designer. Worked in mobile for 8 years. Been in PC console for the last 4 or 5 years. Worked at places like Jam City, Mediatonic, and most recently at Supermassive Games as a game director. So yeah, I'm just really excited to chat to both of you and set the world to right.
Yeah.
We aim to do that every episode, but we haven't got very far in doing that. We get a little bit distracted, safe to say the least. Normally about games, yeah. Someone mentions a game that we both like, and 40 minutes later we're like, probably should cut this tangent off about now.
Yep.
So, I always ask this question when we have Americans that have moved over to the UK, because why the UK, considering quite a lot of the time America's got the bigger games market, bigger studio kind of bases, and I always had assumed as an outsider coming into the games industry that there'd be more opportunities if you lived inside the States itself rather than sunny old England.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Cameron.
The UK actually,
or
not
the
just
UK.
England.
Sorry, sorry.
Oh no.
Big games industry in Wales and Scotland as well, obviously, and Ireland as well.
It's growing.
So at the time in Los Angeles, we were really in a bad cycle. The cycles that the games industry likes to go through so frequently. And there was really just no work available for my skill set and my kind of in game design at that time in LA. It was really, really thin on the ground. And there were a lot of opportunities in the UK. And I got sponsored by a company to move out here for a role. And I was still pretty young at the time, not anymore. And didn't have a lot tying me to LA, no partner or anything like that at the time. So I made the choice to jump out here. I really like it out here. The industry is definitely different than it is in LA, in some tangible and intangible ways. But it's good. I feel like the UK's games industry's kind of embraced my skill set in a way that the LA and kind of Bay Area, Silicon Valley market didn't. So I'm happy to be here, and I really would like to stay on for as long as possible. I was supposed to be getting indefinite leave to remain, but there's a little snag in that recently. So hoping to get that back on track, so I can maybe get citizenship in the next couple of years. That was really my goal when I made it out here, so I could have dual citizenship.
Awesome. That's really good. Like you said, you've been in the industry for 12 years.
Yeah.
So, like, I've talked to you before. Some of the projects you worked on Disney Infinity.
Yeah, I was on QA. That was one of my first jobs in the industry. Actually, I was on console QA for the Xbox 360. That's how long ago that was. Yeah, I mean, we still had Xbox One at the time, but we were trying to have compatibility for some legacy consoles at the time. So we were working on that, and then we ported it to Apple TV. And that was a really interesting experience because I had only had experience from like a really small company before then, self-funded, maybe 10 or 12 people. So seeing how Disney and Avalanche, who were the developers at the time, ran the development was crazy because we had hundreds of people. So there were a lot of opinions, a lot of people, a lot of cogs in the machine. But we actually had a really great team, and a lot of the people from that QA team at Disney are well, two of them are now designers at Insomniac and have been for many years. They've been working on the Spider-Man games for the last couple iterations and given talks at GDC and stuff like that. And it's it's really cool to see people who 10 years ago, 12 years ago were in QA.
The trenches with you,
And they just they knuckled down. They used whatever networking connections they made at Disney and the skill sets that they already brought to that job and combined with their jobs in QA to kind of move into the places that they wanted to be in. Not saying that QA is not a place where where you shouldn't be. Like, it's an entire career path in and of itself. And there are some great people who find a lot of like joy in doing that on a day-to-day basis. It's I don't want to discount QA in any way because it's an incredibly important part of game development, but it is cool to see that it is a place as well that you can learn skills that then translate to other areas.
So coming from I worked in hospitality, and we used to say that people kind of that worked their way up had a totally different mindset and skill set to the others. Do you think that's exactly the same inside the games industry? So if you, as Cameron said, if you start in the trenches in QA, do you think it gives you a different experience and output as you progress more inside the industry?
100%. I really do. Not only from like my own personal experience, because I can only have that my own personal experience, so I don't have that opposite side. But I have talked to a lot of people, from my time as a mentor, as Cameron knows, we spoke from the Limit Break mentorship. I'm still kind of mentoring people virtually across the world who are like solo developers and stuff. And I've talked to a lot of solo developers who want to get into the industry with a studio. And I think one of the issues that they have is that they don't really know how to work in a group with other people collaboratively. And as you said, like working up from the trenches, that's one of the great things about that, is that you realize, when you work from the bottom, you realize that your opinion, there is a hierarchy in games, right? No matter how many studios talk about their flat structures or how they're work in agile environments, there is a hierarchy, and you do have set responsibilities for each role, right? So when you work your way up from that, you kind of realize where people sit in that hierarchy, where you can kind of push your opinion, where you have to hold back, and it gives you a kind of understanding of I hate them. I think they're absolute dog shit. But office politics, they're a part of working in
Office
games,
politics,
right?
Soft skills is another term.
Yes.
I prefer office politics. It sounds a lot better.
Yeah. So soft skills is the office politicsy way of saying office politics, right? Like, yeah, and I think that's one of the things that you learn as you kind of work up in something like QA. Or my first job in games was actually as an office manager. So I was booking lunch and dinner and travel for our CEO and all that kind of stuff. And when she ran out of gas in her car, she had me go and push her car to the petrol station. Like, but also she realized I had a creative writing degree, so she leaned on me for writing because she didn't want to hire a real writer. So I was able to skill up in that way. It's about taking on multiple kind of roles. Sometimes it's about learning deference, as horrible as it sounds. I'm autistic. I don't like deferring to authority when it's unnecessary, especially if I feel like I'm right in a lot of ways. I've had issues with that in the past, both in school and at work. But yeah, it did help me quite a bit in learning that kind of social dynamic.
Yeah, no. So you said you kind of worked your way up. What was what's your current role or previous roles or inside the games industry?
My most recent role was as a game director at Supermassive on a Dark Pictures title. I spent about 10 years of my 12 years in games in various game design roles.
Mm-hmm.
That's either level design, kind of general game design, which can include things like in live service, like event design or systems design, mechanic design as well. And also because of my creative writing background, I did a lot of work in narrative design as well, even though I've never had a job title as a narrative designer or a writer.
You've got
Uh,
experience, so yeah.
yeah, I've got
Sounds about
experience
right,
because
yeah.
studios like to,
Yeah.
they like to be as efficient as possible with their budget and their staff. So yeah, it was always fun to me as well. So it was a great kind of thing to take on the side, even if it wasn't within my job description.
Yeah.
And those kind of being varied like that allowed me to get hired at Supermassive as a game director. They really valued the fact that I wasn't so dead focused on one aspect of game design,
Yeah.
that I could handle the kind of high level creative side of what a game director
So I was
role
about to
was
say,
required.
what does the game director role? Because it sounds like really high up the line. It sounds like you're in charge of a lot. So for those that might not know, what does a games director kind of constitute? What's the job role? What do you do
Yeah.
on your day to day? Because it's a bit of a different. It's not necessarily like your hands-on coding, is it? It's
No, definitely not.
yeah.
Yeah, and it can vary. Like this is the thing with games, right? Each studio's got a different description and different definition of pretty much every
Every
role
job role,
that's
yeah.
out there, especially on the design side. I find that the design side is the more nebulous area of game development, right? But for game director, like you said, it is very high level. It's basically being the kind of vision creator of the project and also the vision holder to the team. So making a very clear distinction about what the project is trying to achieve, creatively, narratively, visually, artistically, but also with the game mechanics that we were going to introduce with the title, and the gameplay that we were going to introduce. So it is generally the vision holder on everything for the project. Would partner with a producer generally, so the producer would be in charge of the budget and scheduling side of it, and in the game director, the project kind of creative vision holder. I worked with the creative director who was the studio creative director, so he was in charge of the overall vision of all of the projects in our studio. And then I was in charge of the vision of that one project. So, like I said, that hierarchy, he was above me, and we worked together on crafting exactly what we wanted that game to be, from the story to the characters to the art style, to whatever new mechanics that we wanted to introduce with this title. And yeah, that was then I'd work with the various teams. That would be concept artists, production designers, narrative designers, game designers, and engineers, and essentially lay out what we wanted out of each section of the project. And then I would review their work and make sure that it was just following that high level creative vision. A lot of my job at the time was putting together high level pitch decks about the project to pitch up to the creative director, studio director, and other executives at the studio. But those decks would also be useful for anybody joining the project to be able to get a high level vision of what the project is, how it differs from other Dark Pictures games in the franchise, what our USPs are, those kind of things.
That sounds like it's
a lot of work.
Yeah. A lot of work, but it sounds quite interesting as well because
it's so creative, like creatively freeing.
It's
exactly.
And no day's the same, I can imagine, at all.
Yes, there was always something new to try to decide, because it was honestly, when I came in, we had a very, very high level, maybe like 2-sentence idea for the story,
wow.
right? And so it was just a lot of working with the creative director on brainstorming, bashing out really kind of early narrative beats, and then agreeing on what we liked and didn't like and how we wanted to move forward with that, and like I said, just what we wanted to achieve with this particular project as compared to
That's
the previous
amazing.
iterations of the franchise.
And especially
Like
inside Dark
each-
Pictures, because
yeah.
they've got such
Like
reputation.
each one is unique,
Yeah.
you know. Different themes, like Until Dawn as well.
Exactly, a different genre each time,
Yeah.
right? You wanted to take on a new horror genre with every iteration, and you know, like I'm a fan of horror, but I'm not like a deep fanboy of horror.
Yeah.
So when I joined there, it was just like a lot of time spent just researching, playing a lot of horror games, watching a lot of movies, putting together a lot of kind of mind maps and mood boards of like
Yeah.
this is the style that we want to go after. I had a very our project was very kind of unique in delivering something very different from any of the previous Dark Pictures games. So we had to make sure that everybody was on board with the kind of style that we wanted to go with. And yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed that kind of just kind of high level creative freedom
Yeah,
and being able to craft things from nothing.
So
No.
it is spooky month. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite Dark Pictures game?
Oh yes, I do. It's between a couple, but there's the one that my old boss, creative director, worked on as the game director, and it
Yep.
was House of Ashes.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That is my
Yeah,
favorite. Yeah.
it's to me it's just it's one of the best kind of story
Yeah.
deliveries mixed with the gameplay. It has nothing to do with me being an American and wanting to see the Iraq War dramatized again. That was one of the things I didn't like about it, actually. But yeah, out of the all the kind of iterations of the franchise, that one was just like my favorite to play.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think they've had a bad one. It's just like
100%, yeah.
Yeah, but like the one set in like the Witch Trials used to make me laugh because me and my friend we used to do like Mary, like the impression.
Yeah, the Little Hope one. Yeah, that one. That one's
yeah,
great.
that's the one. Yeah, but yeah, they've announced a new one as well, which is set in space, which again,
Yeah.
new,
Yeah, Directive 8020, new genre, new whole new kind of style, and like yeah, it's just completely new for the players, and yeah, I've obviously seen some early
yeah.
stuff with it, and it's looking great, so I'm excited for the players to see
So
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
eventually release it.
Now,
Yeah.
moving on from that, you also worked at Mediatonic, which
Yeah.
is quite famous for a certain bean game.
Yes.
So, you want to talk about Fall Guys? 'Cause-
Sure. Yeah. Fall Guys was that was crazy time at Mediatonic. I actually joined, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 months before Fall Guys launched.
Oh my god! So you were there when it was
blowing up. Yeah.
Did they expect it to? That's my question. Did they expect it to blow up?
100? No, absolutely not.
No.
No, that was the craziest thing I think I've been a part of in games, because it was like, we played the team builds and stuff like that, so we knew what we had, and it was a really fun game, right? But like, you never know how the public's going to respond until you press that release button, right? Because that's what we've got on Unreal. We just got release game button.
Yeah, and it goes live. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes live to all the exactly. So it was crazy. Like all the servers, just got overwhelmed like immediately. I know our IT team was stressed out for those first few weeks after release.
Were there like only 4 people in the IT team? I'm sure.
Yeah, we were. Mediatonic was a work for hire game development studio at the time. I was actually brought on to work on a match 3 game, which ended up becoming a Temple Run puzzle adventure, which is on Apple Arcade. And so that's what I joined for. So I didn't join for Fall Guys, but obviously I'd known about it, and when we released it, it was such a big hit that they immediately kind of went, well, we are going to change our business plan because we don't really need to do this work for hire work anymore, right?
We've overnight become a game studio. That's
pretty much, yeah. The founders were as staggered as anybody, and it was a perfect game for that time, right? We had just gone into lockdown a few months ago,
100%.
and people were wanting things to
They were
fun things,
social gameplay. That's what it
social
was.
gameplay
Yeah.
that was fun, that didn't have a ton of griefing in
Yeah.
it, right? Like, and it didn't have a negative community already built into it. And Fall Guys was brand new. It didn't have any kind of negativity in the community. It was fun. It was cute. It appealed to a wide age range. And that was Joe Walsh, the creative director at Mediatonic now, who's the lead designer at on Fall Guys. It was his concept, the game. And that was the brilliance of his pitch, right? Is keeping it that kind of simple and appealing to so many different people. And yeah, it just took off like a rocket. And then we we got really, really big, and then Epic acquired us, and that was a whole other
That's
kind of
that's when you kind of sit there and you read an email and you go, we've just been approached by Epic, or we've been wow, okay, you've made something big, something phenomenal. When a company like Epic walks in the door and goes, I want your game, or we want to help your game, or whatever, how it works, or however they've done it. It
was just like Psionics, right? With Rocket League, and like I was on the player side of that because I was a huge Rocket League player when it came out. Like I still love that game, but it frustrates the hell out of me sometimes.
I got like 1,500 hours in it. I'm playing for a few
but obviously Epic saw it and they went, This is going to be a killer game. We want it in our portfolio, just as they did with the Fall Guys, and that's the way it goes, and it completely changed the the kind of objective of the studio at Mediatonic. And I got moved on to Fall Guys toward the end of my time at Mediatonic. I'd say maybe the last 6 to 9 months, something like that. So I was working on Fall Guys creative mode, so the UGC level editor where players can make their own Fall Guys levels. So I was a small part of that a little bit, did some feature designing for that, but we were working with a co-developer, Wushu Studios, who actually built the level editor.
I love the fact that it's Fall Guys just appealed to, it's like you said, to everyone.
Yeah.
We've had weekends where I'm like a few of us that have met playing PUBG and stuff, and we've just gone, right, this Saturday night we'll get all the kids on their Switches, we'll all be on our Xbox, and there's 12 of us, like ranging from 7 years old, which is my little boy, to 52 years old, just all screaming and shouting at each other, and it's so good fun. It's like
it's like, you stupid bean, get off.
It's that kind of brilliance of bringing 2-button games back, right? Of like, there's not this huge skill curve to it, but it is still difficult because of the physics and the random nature of it, and the other players and how they react and how they can that's the ragdoll physics of it is one of the is one of the best USPs about it.
It was one of the trifecta of lockdown gaming: Fall Guys, Among Us,
Warzone.
It was
the free. It was them free, weren't it?
Then three. And
I was actually Among Us was the thing that really kind of took the wind out of the sails pretty quickly for Fall Guys. We had this huge kind of blow up, and then a couple months later Among Us came out, and then everybody's just kind of migrated over to Among Us, and we're just like, cool, well, it's better to have 15 minutes than to have no minutes of pain, right?
Actually,
still getting like collaborations like every so often. And
that was the other
popular,
really smart thing about that game is the IP collapse, right? And I've actually just been playing the Funko Pop game recently.
On my list because
I've heard bad things. I did rent it and I changed my mind.
I mean, I was kind of to draw it in with the Mediatonic thing and Fall Guys. Like, that's the one thing Fall Guys did really well is the IP branding, right? Like, you bring these cosmetics from various different IPs so that everybody's got something that there's at least one thing that everybody's interested in Fall Guys, right?
Assassin's Creed, Halo. That's just the list.
Exactly. It's the same thing with the Funko Pop game, and I mean, it's got its own issues in terms of gameplay for sure, but it definitely has that element of like, I love Hot Fuzz, right? It's one of the opening.
It's my favorite film. It's
of the game, and
right,
it's
I'll leave you two for Hot Fuzz for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All the little references in there are just so fun, but it is, it's like it is. If you played the Lego games,
Yeah.
you probably played the Funko Pop game, but with a different IP attached to it, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's very similar in terms of the core loop, and the kind of quest gameplay of it. So they definitely took some inspiration from there. But yeah, I think it's worth checking out. Just to because it's something new and interesting in the in the games
Well,
sphere,
yeah.
which is quite
Yeah.
rare in the last few years.
So you said you kind of obviously joined Supermassive game as not one that some like you said you don't do horror games or it's never. What's your genre? What's your go-to genre then? Or are you quite eclectic or?
I am very eclectic. Like I
Snap, yeah.
play everything. But I have realized recently, and it makes me sound like a weird jock, and I'm really not. I think you can probably tell that I'm not. But I play a lot of sports games. I don't know
That's
why. I
me.
think it's
Yeah.
it's the repetitive nature and just like the ability to like if you keep practicing, you can
You
get
can get
slightly
good.
that much better.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except if you play Ultimate Team Rush, not Ultimate Team Rush, Clubs Rush with randoms. Then
Yeah.
you're never gonna
Yeah,
get better.
that's the part of the problem again is playing online for me is the incredible random nature of it, and like I play against somebody who's 20 times better than me, and I just want to throw my controller through the
The
screen.
screen, yeah. Yeah.
Or
I can
people
But like
see
I'm
it.
even playing NHL right now, and I'm like I'm not even a huge hockey fan, but I'm
Yeah,
just
that's yeah.
Yeah.
the
Like
just
with
the
Formula
something
1.
about sports simulations, man,
Yeah.
that they're just really Moorish to me.
Yeah.
That's good.
And
It's, yeah.
I'm the same with Formula 1. Like, I don't really
Yeah.
watch Formula 1, but I play the games every year.
Yeah, I'll check out the highlights every once in a while just to see if anything is
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like I can't watch a 4-hour race and all the
No.
sprints and the
Just
qualifiers and all that stuff.
Just watch the first 5 laps and the last 5 laps. It's all right then, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's like basketball. You really in basketball you only need to watch the last 2 minutes of any basketball game
Yeah.
because everything happens in the last 2 minutes. If it's a close game, you didn't need to see the rest of it. If it was
Yeah.
a blowout, what's the point of watching a
But, yeah.
blowout?
So, that's about the right time to move on to this week's gaming news.
So, gaming news, which is patch notes.
You named them.
Yeah, I know that, but you can still forget stuff you named.
I've got it up on my screen just
See?
in case.
He comes
I'm ready.
prepared. Bryce, would you like to be co-chair?
No, this is Cameron's thing.
Yeah.
It's all I got left. Help.
So we are on to patch notes.
They've taken the kids, Sharon. What am I gonna do?
So we are to patch notes, and Bryce has just confessed his deep love for sports games. And you would like to mention the fact that a certain game, I'll let you deliver it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an understandable decision. Obviously, I've worked in game development for a long time. I understand. I'm not one of those people who's gonna bring fire to the gates because a game has been delayed. But Football Manager, unfortunately, has been delayed until 2025. I mean, they're doing a complete revamp of
new engine,
everything. New engine using Unity. I've spoken to Sega for a couple other roles I was talking to. I've heard some really amazing things about what they had a couple months ago in the builds. But they have a rabid fan base who are really hardcore about
They're
the quality bar,
committed.
right?
They are committed.
Yeah, you can't put out a dog shit product and expect to come back from a fan base like that.
Slaughter you, and
yeah,
it's not like I'm not going to sit there and say Football Manager isn't a massive fan base, but it's not colossal. It's not like Call of Duty. It's not got them numbers, but oh my god, the people inside that will play that game for 400 hours a week if they could. Because that's what they do. That's Football Manager. You can't pick up and play Football Manager for 20 minutes. Let's be honest.
Exactly. There's a great documentary from, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years ago. If you haven't seen it about Football Manager.
No,
and
I haven't.
Play
I'll have to
Football
look into
Manager.
that.
Oh, it's great. And there are people who wear suits to the FA Cup finals with it. Yeah, and they'll practice their press conferences and stuff in front of the mirror. It's brilliant. I love that. That's the kind of commitment from that kind of fan base to this game.
So they did have a documentary on, I think it was BT Sport, like YouTube, a couple of months ago about Bromley. I think hired.
They hired a statistician.
Yeah.
It was a statistician.
Yeah, I think you start stat man, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a stat man.
He's
Yeah.
he got his
Yeah.
knowledge of football stats by Football Manager because
and they ended up getting promoted as well.
yeah, because they used this. Apparently,
Wow.
scouts in real life use the same stats breakdown as
Yep.
Football Manager, like exactly the same kind of
Yeah.
stats and
Well,
everything.
Sports Interactive actually provides
Yeah.
a whole other service to professional football clubs
Yeah,
because of how many analysts they send out across the world
Yeah.
to aggregate these statistics for the game. And they're essentially, they have their own scouting network out there, and a lot of lower division teams utilize them because they have a further reach than they'd ever be able to afford. Obviously, big clubs, they've got their own
Yeah.
systems.
I don't think they're ringing up Sega going, can we
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I always found that incredibly interesting that Sports Interactive probably has more football scouts out there than football organizations. Yeah, exactly.
It's great. And the one thing that I got, someone messaged me because I don't play Football Manager, but I'm always like I'm a massive football fan, so I was like, wow, they've postponed a Football Manager because I can't even remember the last time they'd done it. And then someone messaged me and went, "You do realise they started taking pre-orders 2 weeks ago?" And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's the only kind of whenever I went, oh, that's because they knew that at that point they were going to probably postpone it, and that's what I was like. That's a bit on the grey area for me, but a whole new engine. There's a lot going on. You kind of have to go 50-50 on it. And
the timing is so unfortunate, but like working at a big studio like that, the amount of stakeholders and how long it takes for people to even review things that you ask them to review if they're a kind of executive stakeholder. Obviously, Sports Interactive are under the Sega banner, so there's a lot of people that have to give their, sign off on decisions like that. So it's really hard, even if like the creative director of the project knew that was going to be, he can't make that call. You have to get so many other contingencies to sign off on it. It's really unfortunate.
When I hear stuff like that, and it's like, oh, somebody from Sega got to sign off. It's just not just Sonic the Hedgehog in an office.
Yep.
So I had made this joke. I know someone that works on Star Wars Hunters, the Disney hero shooter that's on iPad and Switch and things. And I said, "What's it like working with Disney?" And he just laughed because he was like, it's jumping through 1,000,001 hoops.
Yeah,
and I can imagine.
I mean, they got to protect their brand. Yeah. That's their number one interest.
Yeah. And I can imagine if you're working with Sega or anyone like that, like the ones that have got 40 years experience behind them and a reputation, it's going to be like jumping through the smallest hoops 20 times in a row.
Mean, I probably can say this now since it's been about 10 years since I worked on this project, but going back to Infinity 3.0, we had a lot of different IPs in that game. So like we had Marvel IPs, we also had Lucasfilm IPs, we were doing Star Wars playsets during that time. We also had Avengers and all that kind of jazz. So Marvel and Disney were very hands-on about making sure that their characters were being treated in the way that they wanted them to be treated. I had to sit and like cut together a 4-hour video of all the different Marvel characters doing all their abilities to send over to Marvel to make sure, the Hulk's not doing something we don't expect him to do. We had a gun in the game that if you shot it at a character, it would blow another character up, make them look fat, basically. It was essentially a fat gun. And Lucasfilm said, no, we can't have fat Anakin. That gun cannot work on any Lucasfilm character. So we had to turn off the functionality for Lucasfilm characters just because, that's their brand for some reason. That was a line in the sand for them. Yeah, I don't understand it, but it's...
Could you imagine Jabba the Hutt doubled? It'd be phenomenal.
I think we should have done a reverse for Jabba.
It should have shrunk him to normal size.
Good old Jabba on Ozempic.
So, we'll move over.
Well, I was going to say, just for the Football Manager thing, I've seen people say, it's because they're adding women to the game and all that.
That's a bunch of nonsense. The last thing I heard, they're not even going to have international management in the game. They decided to cut it completely, which is a big decision, but I think it was also the right decision if you can't get the quality. I think it happens like when you move to a new engine. I think it happened with like the WWE games, they moved to a new engine, and then tons of features were cut.
This year we went
like a few years to get them back in.
Last year, FC went to the new engine because they stayed on the engine, but the engine had a massive amount of updates. Hence why they also rebranded from FIFA to FC.
Mm-hmm.
And
the money as well, probably with that.
It was great. You were sitting there and like, I know, certain things are never going to be cut, and people were getting clickbaited. Oh my god, the transfer market's being taken out of Ultimate Team, and it's just like, why would you believe that in a second? And it's like you said, like, oh, international motoring take out. Yes, it has, but they've obviously done it for a reason.
Yeah,
And
they've obviously seen like the numbers and
It's really hard in a franchise that where you have to have a release every year.
Yeah.
First off, games take more than 1 year to release. Games
Yeah,
take
they do.
nowadays games take about 4 or 5 years on average. AAA size games.
Wobbles is doing testing for EAFC 29 as we speak.
That's the thing. You have to stagger your development cycle, right? And when you make a big shift like Sports Interactive did with changing engine and everything, you can't. It's really hard to predict the problems that you'll run into over the course of a 3 or 4 or 5 year development. It's just I think at these it's really hard to make those decisions at the time that are best for the player base because everybody wants it to release along with the season, right? They want it to.
Yeah.
They don't want to miss a year because they've never done that before.
I feel they should just like do like a squad update and wait to 26.
Yeah, it's just because if you're delaying it until early next year, well,
March,
how are you going to get 26? Exactly. How are you going to get the next one out by the start of the next season?
I really wish sports games producers, developers, whatever, would one day just all get together and go, right, let's actually make a statement here and tell players of our games how ridiculous it is. Because I was chatting and I was like, actually, by the time you've done your planning, so let's say that takes 2 to 3 months, you've only really realistically got 6 months then to actually action that planning and produce and develop, because you've also then got 3 months of beta testing or launch periods, and it's
there's so much going on. Honestly, it's weird because I don't think it's necessarily driven from the fan base, because I remember playing college football 2010 or whatever for 5, 6, 7 years, and people were updating the rosters every year. There was a dedicated fan base. They didn't need the new game every year.
No.
I think it's more the corporate greed side of it, of like, we need to bring out something that's got a live service element to it every year, but also charges people 70 quid every year in a new product, right? They don't want to give that one up for every other year because that's half the profit that they could make off of that, right?
It is corporate,
Yeah, the fans feed into it, I think, because you always want the new thing. But I honestly, I think fans will be happy with something that's a good quality that they could sink their teeth into for a longer period of time, rather than having to constantly turn over, buy a new game every year.
If you told the FC community tomorrow that it was becoming a free-to-play model or a subscription model, they'd be like, yeah, that's fine, because we'll pump more money into FIFA points because we won't feel like we've got to spend 100 quid next year on the game.
Exactly, yeah. But then it would expect the same quality increase and new features every year. Oh, why do we not have any updates to career mode this year? It's like you can't have an update to every mode every year in a sports franchise like that. It's just not possible.
No. So, Cameron, what's your news for the week?
Well, my news is a bit also involving sport, actually. So we're continuing the sport theme. Xbox's new project, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, is sponsoring the Alpine F1 team this weekend in the US Grand Prix, but it's based in Texas.
So, you said this to me, and I haven't done any research, but does that mean the car is?
It's going to be like it's going to have like livery, like different things, like the map and like the logo. Apparently, the driver suits as well are going to be.
Please tell me they look like Indiana Jones.
I was just thinking, I was like, right,
leather look trousers.
We don't need the helmet. Fedora will do. Yeah, that's safe.
Just Harrison.
I wonder if Ocon or Gasly have even seen.
It's like
Indiana Jones.
That's also a really good point.
It's like they find out at the same time. What?
Yeah.
I have to wear the hat now?
Yeah, why is there Harrison Ford or Han Solo from Star Wars on my helmet? Yeah.
Guys, why is there a whip in the backseat? Oh wait, no, that's mine.
Yeah.
Yes, it's. I think.
Is that a sign of how Is that a sign of how mainstream gaming is now? Like it's up there with films. It's up there with TV, because we're now starting to see it on an F1 car. That's a first for me. I've not seen EA have sponsored football teams in the past and leagues.
Yeah,
but I've never seen.
Wimbledon.
Football Manager have done it, but I have never seen a game company go, right, do you know what? Let's put it on a racing car.
Yeah, it depends on if they have.
Because that's
what
not
type
going to
of
cost a
games they
small
do.
amount
Like
of
that's a
money, is it?
mainstream game. It's going to be a mainstream game, I think, like a holiday release for the Xbox. So, but it'd be when you get to it, like if you see indie games, like I don't
I
know,
need
if
to
you
see
saw
if have they
Undertale.
released any pictures yet?
No, I don't think they have. I think it's just concept at the minute. But yes, it'll be interesting to see if they continue that or more. I don't know if it's just because it's like in the US and it's obviously like a US based studio, US based company,
Mm.
or whether it's they'll do the same in like the Azerbaijan Grand Prix or
Oh no, it is full
or is
livery. That is
It's, I,
incredible.
it's interesting. I just don't think that many Americans watch F1.
yeah, they got more like the NASCAR. I think is more
Yeah.
American, like the Indy 500 and
Yeah, we can only turn left. We don't want to be asked to turn right ever.
Oh, that's a great statement, that one. We don't want to be asked we don't want to turn left. We like turning, yeah. We don't want to turn right. We like turning left.
Except politically, then within our country likes to turn right, apparently.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring to the table that Call of Duty is coming to streaming services on launch.
Well, all of them.
Quite a lot of them. Hold on, I'll get the list up. Mobile devices, select Samsung TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Meta Quest devices.
So it's going to be it's free on them platforms.
Yep.
Oh yes, I got a Samsung TV. Get in. 70 inch.
Yeah.
Well,
so I don't know how it's going to work because you can attach your Xbox controllers to it, but yeah, players will be able to access multiple Call of Duty games with Xbox Cloud Gaming via Samsung TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Meta Quest devices, and that's Black Ops 6.
Has anybody played cloud gaming for like heavy processing multiplayer games recently?
No, I tried Sniper Elite to stream it yonks ago because I forgot to download it for something.
I was going to say,
and-
Jesus, you try
and
to
it was
cloud
still a
streaming
bit
now.
clanky.
You try to cloud streaming now, you might go backwards, Wobbles.
Yeah, my internet's that bad. It's yeah.
That's the thing. The cloud streaming is great for, I think, games that don't require multiplayer networking connections with low latency stuff. I'd be very interested to see how well that plays upon release, because I was also working on a Stadia game at the time of Google Stadia collapsing. So yeah, that was fun. Like trying to figure out, and Cyberpunk was part of that cloud game that a lot at the time, and it was unplayable in the early stages.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the game was unplayable regardless of cloud gaming at that time. But yeah,
it'd probably be the entire game, but I wouldn't be shocked if they just said, "Oh, you can do the single player."
I can imagine it might come up with So I'm trying to find further details, but all it says I've found is it's just coming to streaming services. It doesn't clarify multiplayer or single player, which again is interesting.
Yeah.
Because I would be well intrigued to see how streaming a game can work with then streaming the multiplayer aspects on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's just a campaign, I mean, campaign's still incredibly heavy on the download gigs, but it wouldn't have the networking latency issue to have to contend with there, so it'd make a little more sense. But then also for the brand, I don't see how that would make as much sense. I think they want to drive people to the multiplayer and to see past stuff, right? Like
Call of Duty is all about Warzone and multiplayer now, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, they didn't have a campaign in one of the last two games.
Yeah.
So.
That went down like a lead balloon, didn't it?
That's one of those things that we're talking, like Sports Interactive, right? It's one of those decisions, like those really tough decisions. If you want to get the game out every fucking year,
you need things.
We have to make this tough decisions on certain things. That one wasn't my favorite because I'm generally a campaign player. I don't like playing the multiplayer Call of Duty stuff. I prefer the campaign aspect of it. So that one was just
like Assassin's Creed. They took a year off.
Yeah, exactly.
And brought out Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla, and they all did pretty well. I think the new one is Mirage as well, like back to what they used to do. But Shadows is looking promising when it eventually releases.
Yeah.
So pray for Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's we discussed this quite lengthy last week, didn't we? Because of the Tencent news and things. It's
Yeah, it's in a weird, like, is the writing on the wall kind of stage, and is it kind of public? Yeah, it'd be very interesting. It's just interesting to see where they're going to go in the next year or two and
Yeah.
what's going to shake out. Like I said about the Mediatonic stuff, we couldn't have ever predicted the Epic sale as like a team, right? We were never privy to any of that. It happened either very quickly or it happened at a level above many of the people at the studio.
Yeah, that's where it's like you said, you make the decision to cut something as a director or whatever, but there's always people above you that then sit there and go, actually, we're going to sell the games company now, and it's out of your hands. You don't have a say. You've got you've got creative freedom a little bit. Like you can, as you say, you can cut something and change a game, but then there's levels above that go totally out of your hands. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
It's now part of the episode where Bryce takes over and becomes the game show host for Guess This Mess.
All right, I got 3 different games here that I'm hoping you guys cannot guess. That's my goal.
Yep.
I don't want you to know. I don't want you to figure it
well
out.
so far.
Yeah, we have.
I think it was
Don't-
5
Burst
to
my
me,
balloon.
5 to Wobbles, 3 to the guests.
Yeah.
All right. My first one is a walking, running, and jumping stereotype with white knight syndrome stalks a woman across time, space, and various castles.
Bread.
No.
Super Mario.
Correct.
Ah, come on, I'm behind for the first time. What's going on here? I'm collapsing a castle in April.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to realize I'm almost 40, so a lot of these are going to
I'm
that.
I'm not going to be judgmental, but yeah, I was expecting them to be a bit old, like
Right.
not retro games, but yeah.
So right, Pong. Right, okay.
Pong.
Yes, Pong and any text-based mud games that I used to play.
How do you badly describe Pong without giving it away in 2 seconds? You can't, can you?
Virtual Wimbledon?
Yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah.
All right, second one. Manifest Destiny isn't only for us Americans anymore.
Bubbles on Google.
No, I'm trying to think.
I can see your screen on the other one. I know
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you can see me there, can't you?
Yeah.
Just on my phone. I'm just got a phone call. Just yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah.
Any more? Can we get another line?
Yeah,
or...
another clue.
You can get one more turn.
What?
Just one more turn.
Just one. Is it turn based? Is it turn based?
XCOM.
Oh.
Not XCOM.
Oh.
It is turn-based.
I'm out. I don't. What? No. Hogs of War.
We've had that. Already.
Yeah.
Sid Meier's Civilization.
Ah.
Oh, I'm kicking.
You were so close.
Yeah.
You had it on the tip of your tongue. Yeah, I don't know if Manifest Destiny is a popular term outside of America, but it was.
I didn't know what it was. I was just like.
Manifest Destiny is a term that Americans used when we moved west from the east coast of America and decimated the Native American population because we believed that God destined us to take that land. It was Manifest Destiny. So Sid Meier's Civilization is a lot about.
So the third game is the Oregon Trail. Got it.
That was one of my favorite games in elementary school.
I played the remake recently.
I've never heard of it until Cameron said about it.
It's a great game.
They got a remake on PS5.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Is it a PS5 remake? Oh, I played the mobile remake, but I haven't played the PS.
I think it's the same game, but PS5.
Oh, okay, cool. My third one, I think you guys will get this one. Armchair experts now have demonstrable proof that they're better technicians than trained professionals. Sorry, let me read that one more time.
Yeah.
Armchair experts now have demonstrable proof that they're better tacticians than trained professionals.
XCOM.
No.
Better tacticians. Command and Conquer. No, I'm going down the tactical route again. What game? I'm thinking strategy games.
Brain Sim World.
Not that.
No.
Could it outside of the box something like Metal Gear Solid?
No, it was Football Manager. Sorry, guys.
Oh my god! As if we didn't get that. We've just spent talking about it.
Yeah.
Armchair tacticians as well. The armchair managers. Yeah.
Yeah. That was what I was trying to go for. Sorry.
Done. So it's now Wobbles in the lead.
6-5-5.
Yeah, 655.
Bryce has got 2 strong points for the guests there.
I need to
Let's
Almost have the mark of the beast.
So that is it for this episode. After we have absolutely Bryce has stumped us on the guess this mess.
Yep.
We are now going to say goodbye. And I'd like to start with, as I always do, Bryce, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend some time chatting to you. And
You as well. Thank you so much.
And learning about a different role, because we, inside the games industry, I've spent a lot of time with developers, accessibility people, but never quite someone that oversees it almost.
Yeah.
So
it was my first role doing that, and yeah, it's something I really enjoy.
It's quite like I think I said to you before, because I wanted to nominate different awards. It's quite inspiring, like you're an M3 words autistic game director.
Yeah, and we didn't even touch on that because in my head, the autistic doesn't matter. You're a games director. That's the huge thing, and that's
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
That has been episode 10 of To Put It Bluntly. I've been the Wobbly Gamer.
I've been Keywood.
I've been Bryce Bauer. Done.